Okay, we are live. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and everybody else that's watching, whoever's sharing. So today I'm very excited because we're going to be talking about something that is, well, I don't even know how to put it into words really, because it is magic, but we all have it, and we may not all be aware we have it, but it's our subconscious mind. And it's the place where everything gets done, because our consciousness, what we realize as a conscious being, it's the tiniest little fraction of what we're taking in on every single level. The things that we see, the memories that we hold, the things the places that we are, everything that we are, all our memories, all of us is in the subconscious. It's held there, and our consciousness is just a little window into the now, into the place where the subconscious just sneaks in, and it can either help you or hinder you, depending on how we've treated our subconscious mind. So today I wanted to talk about the subconscious mind, and not a lot of people realize that it can be accessed, and that they have this superpower, because we are superhuman. We are superhumans. So this is why I wanted to talk about it, because I don't know how much it's been talked about, and we've never done it. We've never done the subconscious mind before.
No, not this one.
No, we haven't, have we? And NLP focuses so particularly on the subconscious mind. And as a personal experience, my life changed when I discovered NLP too. So for this real therapy talk, this is what we are going to be discussing. So today I got my Kate and I've got my Susie, so I'm very excited about having them today. And let's talk subconscious mind. So for me, I use my subconscious mind, try to use it consciously as well, actually. But I think a lot can be done with that, because visualization, a lot of that is done in your subconscious mind. When you dream at night, that is accessing your subconscious mind. And your conscious mind is, I think it's like 10% of your brain, the 10% that they kind of monitor, that you kind of know that's being used. And the other part of your brain is the mystery and the magic, where things happen, and where your subconscious mind may live, or it may live outside, or it may be anywhere, right? So that's the physicalities really of it. And I'm not a brain surgeon, and I'm not a neuroscientist, but just from what I understand. And in our conscious, we if I remember rightly from NLP, from our studies, we are aware of maybe 7 to 10 things on a conscious level. Is that right? It wasn't it that you're aware of?
That it's like 7-ish, plus or minus 2.
I think 5 to 7. Yeah. 7 the most. Yeah,
it's not many bits. No.
No, that's the thing. So what we think is real and reality is our perception of a situation, and our focus is on that point of it. Whereas if you zoom out and look at a wider reach all around, that's when you're widening your view. You're not just that seven items is not what's reality. What's reality is everything else. Now I'm really jumbling my words today. Can you tell I've had lack of sleep? Can you tell I've had a dog that's had an operation? You saw it, didn't you, Lucy?
How is
that was reality. I'm switching the focus, not looking at the stitches, just looking at her face.
Oh, sweetheart.
Oh, bless her. She's had about 60 stitches. She's had a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I've had lack of sleep this week, but it's okay, because my subconscious mind's going to take over.
It always does.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It always does. I'm going to go, Susie. You're going to have to help me out.
Yeah. Well, if you want, I can start talking about the subconscious, the unconscious. This aspect that is less visible for us, because in my work. And I've always been fascinated by the mind. That has been my main focus all my life in my studies and everything that I've practiced so far. And if you want, I made a parallel between the perception or the explanation of the unconscious and the subconscious from the Vedic perspective, like in Ayurveda. and yoga and the NLP, and I find it extraordinary. And maybe if you want, I can bring this insight.
I'd love to. Love it.
You see, the unconscious, or what we call in Sanskrit chitta. Chitta comes from this Sanskrit word which means consciousness, or means mindset or absorption. If you want our unconscious mind, this is the way I picture it in my own mind. It's a sort of a balloon which is contains the air which is outside of it. Right. So the individual consciousness, my own unconscious, if you want, it's a sort of a bubble with some sort of a thin how do you call that, membrane. And inside there are all kinds of memories, right? So the purpose in yoga, for instance, is when you work with the unconscious mind, is to access it and then clear it from all these memories contained. And then when you clear everything, what remains is what's outside of it. That is the consciousness itself. Right. So if you want, from this Vedic perspective, chitta is not only the unconscious with all these mindsets and all these programs, but is also the consciousness itself. It's a mix of both. So it's a mix of unconscious, superconscious, and the subconscious. Everything is there. In any case, is all that which happens without our awareness. So the way chitta, or this unconscious, works is like this. It's connected to your sensorial perception. So in your everyday experience, you see, you hear, you touch, you smell, right, and you taste. And this particular experience with all these 5 sensorial information gets combined with a certain emotional response. Okay, I either like it or not like it, whatever I happen to taste or see or hear. I mix it with an emotion. And if there is no awareness on my part, this information forms what we call in Sanskrit a samskara, or an impression. And this is the correspondent to what we call a program, right? Or an emotional charge, or a limitation in our unconscious. So basically all this information from outside, from the external reality, is filtered through the 5 senses. It mixes with an emotion and is being planted as a seed in my unconscious mind. Wow. And since I don't know, but there's a study that calculated how much we are actually aware during a day, like during our life. And it's between 95 to 97% that we are unaware. So basically we're just 5 to 7% that we are aware. Wonderful. So it's not that wonderful, because imagine the rest of 95% of all the data that we get goes directly into the unconscious and is not being processed. You know what? So, you know what's wonderful is how you're wording this, because you're an orator and I'm learning so much. Oh, I am. Thank you. No, you're saying it so beautifully. Keep going. Sorry, Susie. No problem. So basically, all this information gets somehow stored, and I can imagine, you can visualize this storehouse, because chitta, or the unconscious, is called the storehouse of our memories. It's like a long, storehouse with all those shelves. And I know, Kate, you would understand this because you're very organized. And this is, I can see files being there, organized all over. And if we want to change something, for instance, in our life, and we want a permanent change, it is not possible unless we go in there consciously and change it. And this is where it comes, the connection with the NLP, because if you want to go in there, you can go in there either through hypnosis, meditation, and other techniques, right before falling asleep or right upon waking up, because this is where the gate between the conscious and unconscious is open. And then you can go in there and transform those memories. So in order to transform these memories, and this is where the NLP part comes in, you have to start to play with all these 5 inputs and with the emotion that was associated with it. So basically, that's like in a few words. There's lots to say. Maybe I have time to share a bit more. But this is the way we look at it. Chitta, or the unconscious, is the space where we contain these memories. But it's not just these memories. It is also the memory of who we are. Is that eternal in us, that divinity in us. So when we get rid of all this, and this balloon is being emptied, what remains in there is you, is the divine, is the permanent, is the awareness and the consciousness. Wow. Yeah. Oh, okay. How beautiful that is. Because no, I just wanted to mention that, because usually we have this perception that when we go into the unconscious, we only see the dark or the problems in there. And the difference between, let's say, NLP and yoga would be that in yoga, I'm going in there not with the purpose to change those memories, because I recognize as a yogi that this is not who I am. But my purpose is to go in there to remember who I am, because the memory, the seed, we have all these seeds of all these memories from the past, but the most important memory and the only true memory is the memory of who we really are. And in yoga, we go in meditation state in order to access that seed, and we go,
wow,
behind and beyond all these samskaras, all these impressions from the past, in order to reach the truth. So that's the difference between the two disciplines, NLP and yoga.
That's absolutely wonderful. I need to learn yoga. I've never learned it, and it's such an expansive art, really, isn't it? It's like an art, because the physicality of it not only strengthens your body, but it strengthens your meditation and your subconscious mind. Yeah. Oh wow, that was worded so incredibly well.
Oh, thank you. I hope I was clear.
You were, unlike myself today. Oops, I'm going to do more listening than speaking today. Just bear with me. Kate, I know you are an incredible, you work incredibly with the subconscious mind, because the subconscious and the unconscious mind are two different things, aren't they?
Well, I think they're the same to me. I mean, I don't sort of see a difference between them. To me, subconscious, unconscious is all the same. It's like, are you consciously aware, or is it something that's kind of driving you from within, that you're not really aware of what's happening and why? Kind of like if you're taken over by a feeling, or you feel driven to do something and you don't know why, you're not consciously awake enough in that area, then you're not, that's not conscious, that's the opposite. So for me, subconscious, unconscious, it's all the same to me.
I'm with you, because when we learned NLP, that's what we kind of learned. I've read something, and I took some notes today, actually. There was a 3-level mind model. This is what I read. And it's the conscious mind, which defines all thoughts and actions within our awareness. For example, the beauty and the pleasance and the smell of a red tulip. So that's what the conscious mind can do. The subconscious mind defines all reactions and automatic actions we can become aware of if we think about them. For example, our ability to drive a car. Once we get skilled, we stop thinking about what gears to use, what pedals to press, and what mirror to look in. We're just doing it subconsciously. It's just automatic, almost hypnotic. And it says the third one is unconscious, defines all past events and memories, though at times inaccessible to us, no matter how hard we try to remember to bring things up. And it says, for example, the first word we've learned to say, or how we felt to be able to walk on our own. So that's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their own definition, and I'm just saying from my point of view, I don't sort of split it out so much. I think it's either you're conscious or you're not, and you can make the subconscious conscious, the unconscious conscious. I mean, even things like what's happening in your body. I mean, your body is breathing. You're either focused on your breathing or you're not. So sometimes it's conscious and sometimes it's not. But there's also this unconscious driver that makes it all happen that I'm not even aware of necessarily. But I also believe you can become aware of it, because I talk to parts of my body all the time, when I want to know what's going on in certain areas. So the more aware you become, I believe you can make any part of that conscious. And so that's my belief. Now, you might all have different beliefs to that, but that's the way I see it. So when I'm working with someone else, or when I'm working with myself, and I want to become more conscious of something, like, why did I just say that? Where did that come from? Or why did I do that thing? Or why is that memory just popped in? It's a weird, odd memory just for, I've just heard a song, that's just come in. What's that telling me? So I'm always learning more and getting more and more conscious of what is buried down in there. And so, and as Susie was saying, it's not necessarily because I want to change anything. I just want to learn more, because I've got this thing I love to learn about myself. And I believe all these things are messages. There's no such thing as you just get something that pops in your head for no reason. There's always something behind it. There's a reason why that's come in, and I'm interested to know why. And certainly when I'm working with people, one-to-one, we're, you know, whatever pops in their mind, I don't never dismiss it, because that's the subconscious talking to you. That's the subconscious saying, here you are, I'll give you this photo from when I was, you know, 5, or suddenly you'll get a feeling in your left middle toe or something like that. You know, that it's all meaning something. And so then we're finding, what does that mean? And then what's there to learn from that? So I think the subconscious is just like vast. I call it the subconscious. Unconscious to me sounds a bit like it's kind of dead and a bit not alive, but this is absolutely alive, and it's linked to absolutely everything. And as Susie was saying, it's like, I've heard like 95 to 99% of everything we do is driven subconsciously. So it's a big part of our lives, and most of us are not aware of that. So you may be, I think they say, look, like kind of 1%, most of us are using about 1% of our consciousness.
Right.
And then the 99% is subconscious and underneath our general awareness. And people that are really, really, really powerful meditators, they can get that to about 5%. And then the rest is, and so even that, so most of our life is subconscious. And so the more we can get to learn to talk to it and find out what's going on in there, the more in control we kind of feel in our lives, because our subconscious is driving everything that we do.
Yeah.
And so the more we feel in control, we're not in control because our subconscious is kind of like controlling us still, but we feel more in control because we know what's happening in there, and we can make changes if we want to, or just understand it better and start getting, like, I have a great conversation with my subconscious mind. I could talk to it. I have a great relationship with it. And so I don't kind of, and then I think when you get to that point, you kind of accept yourself more. You're more at peace with yourself because you're not having all these fighting conflicts and that in your mind, and you're behaving in a way that isn't in true keeping with the way you wanted to, and this sort of thing. And so the more you build awareness of that side of you, which will always be sometimes a very quiet voice, but the more you build awareness of what's happening, then the more you are not just in control of yourself, but more connected as well with yourself and with everything else and everybody else. Because the more, when you get stuck inside this kind of place where you're not really awake and you're just being driven all the time, and you're not really being consciously aware of how things are happening for you inside, then you're not really connecting with anyone else either.
That's true.
And because I believe absolutely that quality of life comes from the quality of your relationships, then the relationship you have with yourself and your subconscious mind, and also the relationships you have with other people, defines how well your life goes generally. And so for me, it's like critical to be able to talk to that part of yourself and get to know it better.
Yeah.
And that would be my kind of start. It's like, and the other thing is, if you want to change anything, then you have to talk to your subconscious. You can't do it consciously. You can't just sort of keep saying to yourself, I am enough, I'm good enough, and all this sort of thing. If you're not getting into your subconscious where all those beliefs are buried, then you're not going to change anything.
That's
consciously,
right.
It doesn't work. And that's my experience, and that's why I do what I do, because I'm helping people to make those changes at a subconscious level, which will drive you in a different way going forward.
That's a beautiful thing. That was worded beautifully as well. Well done. That's excellent. I mean, with the subconscious mind, I kind of, I almost kind of live in it a little bit, because it's the place where your dreams can come true. It's the place where you can invite in anything that you really want, and you can live it, and you can breathe it, and you can access it, and you can make it a reality. And I choose to live a lot of my life like that, because sometimes reality can be not
harsh.
It's just harsh, and also very blinkered. It's very blinkered reality, because you're missing out on what is possible, and your subconscious mind allows you to access what is possible, and that is why I'm so drawn to it. And for me, I always ask the universe how I talk to my subconscious mind. There's different ways you can look at it. You can ask the universe. You can call it God. I mean, and you can get your messages through your subconscious mind. You can everyone's got their own method of accessing their answers, because that's the thing. Everyone has the answers, and it's how you have to be able to ask for them. You have to be able to ask for answers, not only to the universe or to whoever it is above or to yourself, but also to others, because I think that's really an important is an important thing to progress, to grow, is to be able to have the confidence to answer, to get the answers and to learn, you know. So I kind of do, and from that place, it's a very quiet, meditative place. It's a trusting place for me. And I talk about it. I talk about it as if I'm doing it, and I'm in my subconscious when I'm doing it, and I use affirmations to get there as well. Repetition, just going through it, and I can't describe how I feel it, but I just feel it. It's a feeling and a message that I get, and when I'm on the right path, it flows. And when I'm not, it's sticking points, but we get through those because it's just like running a race, so it's fine. We are joined by Linda. We're joined by Linda too now. Morning, darling.
Hello.
Morning. How's your car? Your car okay?
Yeah. Oh no, it's it was just to get a price, and it's got to be a Honda part.
Oh.
And so it's just the middle part of the exhaust, and it's £210 just for the part.
Oh lordy.
Anyway, right. I've got savings for it, so it's all right.
Good. Right.
Yeah.
Linda, you work a lot with anxiety and phobia as well. So like subconscious mind, how do you find that affects people and in your area?
So if I can say, not to be pedantic, but just to say how it is for me, I never refer to it as the subconscious mind. I call it the unconscious mind, because I think it misleads us when we think subconscious, just below consciousness. I think we can be tricked into thinking we know what's in there, and we don't know what's in there. So when you might say to people, well, if you talk about the subconscious, that things might be going on there. No, I don't think there is. Well, we don't know, because it's not just under the conscious level, it's unconscious. We are not conscious of it. So what I think is important for us to know is that it's in that part of the mind that our stories live. It's where our stories are, aren't they? And some of those stories, so the unconscious mind, to me, it's like Facebook algorithms. It's got no logic. It's not the thinking part. There's no ability to think and figure and work out and decide. It's not got those skills. Those live in the conscious mind. That's it. So that's covered. That job's covered. In the unconscious mind, then, it is simply, to my mind, it is simply trigger and response. That is all. So the trigger is, oh my God, somebody's chasing me with a spider, and there's got to be an and. If it's a phobia, there'll be an and. Somebody's chasing me with a spider, and it's my dad, and he knows I don't like them. Why is he doing this? That would be the and. That would be what locks it in. The pain of thinking, why does he do this? Why does he do it every time? So that's the story. My dad is cruel and nasty to me, maybe because I'm no good. Maybe that's because I'm just no good. Maybe it's because he doesn't love me. I'm not lovable then. And there's this blinking spider. The spider is just playing a bit part, nothing to do with the spider. The conscious mind knows very well spiders are not dangerous in our country. But there's a story. And so that would have happened. The unconscious mind has got no chance at all to figure out and say, oh, but actually it's just a spider. There's really no reason. There's no chance. it's going to respond like a Facebook algorithm. So that when I placed an ad for a cleaner, and I said it's a pet-free home, that ad was rejected because you're not allowed to sell pets on Facebook. I wasn't selling pets on Facebook, but the algorithm that is just like our unconscious mind sees the word pet, pounces upon it, takes action, deletes that ad. And this is what phobias are. This is what anxiety states are all about. Your unconscious mind has just leapt in without any thought because it's got no thinking ability. And so, but it's got its own story. And its own story will be, so I'm working later today, with a 6-year-old who's got a phobia of dogs. Her story, I've worked with her already. Her story is that all dogs are dangerous. Right. That's the story. And so, while ever that story exists in the unconscious mind, as Kate said, there's no point in trying to figure it out at the conscious level. There's no point in anybody saying, no, this dog is lovely. She is frightened of all dogs, and it's become a problem now because she won't go to the park, and she won't go to the playground, and she won't go to places where there may be a dog. Whether there's a dog or there isn't, she won't go. She's not wanting to even leave the house. So this is her story. And again, I agree with Kate. We need to change that story, but we have to change that story where it lives. And we can change that story. And the work I'm doing with this wonderful little girl who's done very well last time, the feeling she got when thinking about going somewhere where there was dogs who are all dangerous, the feeling was this big in her head. It was this big. And when we'd finished, it was this big. So we had to stop there. So we're starting again today. And I'm going to talk to her about stories, and I'm going to talk to her about this being an old story now, and help her to create a new story.
Beautiful.
And I'm hoping to ask her to do some drawings of the new story where dogs are fun and dogs are cute and dogs are very loving. So
I love that. Did you use submodalities with her, like with the changing the tone and the voice and the look? And
no, we didn't. We haven't done that yet. And today I want to do timeline with her. So today I want to go back along her timeline. No, we did. I never know what it's called. I call it seek and destroy. So it's where is it in your body? What color is it? What's it made from?
Yes.
How big is it? Yeah. And then when we made it tiny, we destroy it. She has some, as we can have, we can easily have resistance to letting it go. And you could see this and hear this in her. Whenever we did some work and I asked her how we're doing, we kept checking how's it doing. I didn't even ask her. She kept telling me, it's still there in my head though. She told me that a few times. So that tells me that her unconscious mind is not yet ready to let it go, because we've not found the root cause yet, because that will be this week. And we've not done whatever it is that is going to reassure her unconscious mind that it is quite safe to let it go.
Yeah.
So it's layers. It was built up layer upon layer. It is seen that phobias do not happen just like that. No. The first time you were frightened of something, there was a setup already. There was already a setup that made you vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
So it's layer upon layer, and we don't necessarily have to go back through all of the layers, but we've got to get to the root cause, and then those layers that are still causing problems.
It's interesting because it's the subconscious mind is almost like your protector, isn't it? It just shoots into action because of the thing it's learned.
It keeps us safe. That's its job.
Yeah.
Its job is to keep the heart beating, make sure we're blinking so we don't go blind because we're not moistening our eyes, to keep us breathing. Otherwise we'd have to have an alarm, wouldn't we, on our smart watch that goes, oh, time to breathe. So it's very, very valuable. And because of that, I guess that's why it can't be a part of you that thinks, oh, is it really time to breathe though? Do we need to breathe?
Yeah.
It's got to be trigger and response, hasn't it? It's got to be automatic.
It's in hypnosis, that's when we're accessing your subconscious mind, when you're in that state of calm and peace, and the relaxation, and you're allowing yourself, because most people, they don't allow themselves to relax, like properly relax, to focus on themselves, their breathing, to calm down. And when we do hypnosis, it's suggesting all of the things that are possible, and giving your subconscious the permission to then feed that into your consciousness. I think that's very powerful. Hypnosis is just brilliant. The best hypnosis I ever had actually was on the course with Terry. And I've done loads of hypnosis. In fact, I hypnotized someone a few weeks ago now, and I actually hypnotized myself in the process. Oh my God, it was mental. It was mad. But when I remember, I've done hypnosis loads, and the deepest level I ever got was with Terry. And I remember we were all lying down in the room, all doing our lessons, and I was underneath a table because that's the only place that was there for me to lie down, because everyone was like all over the floor. This is in Masters. And Terry did this, I think it was like towards the end of the day hypnosis, one of those, when he does the calm down techniques. And by the way, for anyone that's watching, Terry Elson was our trainer. All of our trainers, wasn't he? Everyone.
So.
Yeah. So Terry did this hypnosis, and I swear I was in a different planet. I allowed myself. I didn't care I was under table, looking at the top of the table. I didn't care that I was surrounded by 20 other people all lying down. I didn't care that I was on a hard carpet floor. I didn't care where I was. I was just. It was a beautiful, magical place. And when we were awoken, when we were awake, like, come back to now, it was like, I just did not want to come back. I was so happy in that place. It's so powerful. And for anyone that's listening to this and that hasn't experienced hypnosis by a good hypnotherapist, because hypnotherapy only allows you to do the things that you really want to do. You'll never do anything that you don't want to do in hypnosis, because you're always aware. But you're allowing yourself to access that part of your brain where you can just be anywhere and do anything and be anything. And it's just a beautiful place. So anyone that is watching this, going back to the main point, as we said, have good hypnotherapy, even if it's just to relax, because it's like a wash for the soul. it's like visiting a different country. Yeah, it is.
It's a different territory.
Susie,
different territory.
I wanted to add something to what Linda said earlier in regards to this, the aspect of the unconscious, which is mechanical, and it's an instinct. And that's why the work with NLP becomes so powerful, because if we can get the unconscious do a task for us and give it the right instructions, it will do it for us automatically. And I was talking to a lady yesterday who has some bulimia problems, and she wanted to do some work with me, and we discussed, and she said, can we just meet and you tell me, according to Ayurveda, what changes are good for me, for my constitution? And I said, I would gladly do that. But I learned that it's not just this knowing, what I have to do that will help. it's best if we can program these changes into your unconscious mind so that it does it for you. So rather than feeling like tomorrow I will just have to eat half a pear with a half a chicken, your unconscious mind just wants to eat whatever is good for you because you program it, and it eats as much as you need to eat in order to lose weight. So that's the wonderful part of our unconscious and subconscious being automatic and just a reflex, because we can get it to work with us. And I think the most intelligent way to approach our own transformation, if you want, is by understanding how mind works and using each aspect of the mind intelligently. And I don't know, you were saying, Danielle, about the 3 levels of the mind. Well, in the Vedic knowledge, we also talk about 3 levels of the mind. And this is why I like so much the distinction, because we understand that there is only one conscious part. So there are 3 levels. Is the chitta I mentioned earlier, right? The unconscious, subconscious, and superconscious. And then we have the thinking and emotional mind. This is a different aspect. The thinking mind thinks all the time. It's there when you wake up and you start thinking, planning, imagining, daydreaming, visualizing, writing poetry, imagining a book, whatever that is. So the thinking and emotional mind works with emotion. And this is where it gets complex and complicated. And this is where we suffer, because we mix this aspect of our mind, mixes everything with emotion. But there is one aspect, right? So we have an unconscious, we have an emotional mind, and then somebody has to come to decide, because none of these two can decide or process. So who does? And the question is, because I was listening to you and I wrote this question, who is actually changing the memory? Who wants the transformation? Who evolves?
Yeah.
Who is that who decides what is to be done when we do processing of the memory? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Who is there that wants to change this memory? Who is there that suffers? Say. So just to get to the third aspect before I lose my train of thought, the third aspect of the mind is what we call in Sanskrit buddhi, or the intelligence or the awareness, like from Buddha, right? Buddha means the enlightened. So it's the only aspect of our mind which is illuminated and which can actually reflect, which can actually be aware. Because you see, in this process that we are going through, all right, I'm going through a bad state. I have I don't know, depressive mood. Then there is somebody in there saying, hey, you should not have this. And I think I'm aware of it, but this is not awareness. So see, buddhi, or this capacity to be aware, is like a muscle that has to be trained. And the real awareness is that when we look at something and we don't judge it for good or bad. So as long as I look at something that is bad in myself and I judge it as bad, it's still not the real awareness. The real awareness is that one that we reach sometimes in the now state, right? In the now state where you're there and everything expands, and then you just fix your eyes, go into this peripheral mode, and you're aware of the sounds, aware of the sight, aware of your breathing. You're there, you're aware. Then there is something there in you which can receive whatever happens, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that is the awareness. Because if there's some antidote for the subconscious or the unconscious content of our mind, the antidote is consciousness or awareness. And this is a question that I've been asking myself for many, many, many years. I remember my first question to my first teacher in yoga was, who the heck evolves, man? If I'm perfect, everything, I'm one with God, I am the divinity incarnated. Who evolves, what evolves? And over the time, this is my personal, let's say, reflection on the subject, is that the only evolution that there is this strengthening of the muscle of awareness. Because we are as we are, and we'll always have, flaws, and there's always going to be something happening because we're humans, and that content of the unconscious is rather full, right? It's full of stuff and memories from past lives and memories from our ancestors, and there's a whole bunch of things in there. If we start to clear them one by one, it could be a long process. But whatever evolves is the only thing that really evolves in our lives. And I think this understanding could bring much relief to our, suffering egos and minds and all, is basically fine-tuning the awareness and the perception. It's like when you have binoculars and you start to do the fine-tuning. That's the only thing that evolves. The only thing that evolves in our lives from all these experiences, including the unconscious memories and everything that we are processing, is this capacity to see clearly. Because we're always under these veils. We always see reality through the veils of the emotions and through the veils of the content of our unconscious. We never see what is. So just to give you a quick example for people listening to better understand these 3 levels. So let's say, give me an example of something like a bad situation. I don't know, one of you, give me something.
Having something disappear that you really want on the screen. So you're expecting the worst, or maybe not. For anyone that's watching, this is to do with me.
But in any case, let's take any life circumstances. Something happens now. There is an event, all right? My reaction to it, my emotional reaction to it that makes me sad or depressed or anxious is the thinking emotional mind. What is underneath, like Linda said, underneath this reaction of mine, there is a memory or a story that is there. And my superconscious, my intelligence or buddhi, the awareness, is the one that can come in if I bring it in and I say, let's look at what's going on. Let's understand what's happening. Like Kate was saying, let's be curious about what's going on in there. Or simply, like Danielle always does in her now state, just look at it. So the emotional response is the thinking mind. What's underneath it is the unconscious, and the one that looks at it is the actual true experience, the true seer and the true processor. So the more we develop this processing part aspect, buddhi, our intelligence, the more we develop it, the more we are able to process it. And this part, the intelligence part, that can actually take us to have a ride within the unconscious mind.
Oh,
yeah. So it's this aspect that is able to go with us. It's that aspect that is there, that is capable to be aware of things. And I just want to say one more thing before I leave you the word. I find it fantastic. You see, we're using NLP and self-hypnosis, and this is fantastic. And a very easy way to access your unconscious, subconscious is just by closing your eyes, all right? And seeing, let's do it together now, just let's close the eyes together. And just like when you enter a very dark cave, you don't see anything for the time being because, you're coming from the light into the dark. And maybe because of the screen, you kind of see some light in there. But as this light fades away, right there behind your closed eyes, there is a screen. And chitta, or this unconscious, is defined in yoga as this space, which is like a room within the upper part of your head, where the top of your head is the ceiling, the back of your head is the back wall, the sides of the head are the 2 side walls, and the front behind the forehead is the front wall, and there is the projecting screen. The floor is somewhere at the level of the base of your nose, right underneath the eyes. So this is your inner space. And just by practicing every night, when you go to sleep, by closing your eyes and looking at it, eventually this darkness starts to fade away, and there you will see. And it's on this screen that you can project the image that you want to see coming through in your life as well. So while we're there, you can see easily that if you want to see, for instance, an apple, you can see it, right? Well, this is your inner space. This is the space of subconscious, unconscious, but we call chitta in the Vedic texts, in the yogic knowledge. So just by doing that, you're actually putting yourself somehow in a little bit of a light trance.
wonderful.
So whenever you want to come out, you can take a deep breath and open your eyes and come back to now.
That was beautifully done. Yeah, very powerful technique.
That's really interesting, because when I do timeline with my clients, how it is for me, I teach them to do it the way it is for me. And it's exactly that space, exactly that same space, only for me, it isn't walls, it's a cave. It's as if it was a cave. And I ask them to send the conscious mind to the back. It lives at the front. I ask them to send it to the back to take a break, because we don't need it for, we're grateful and everything for all it does, but we don't need it for this task. So it's exactly that space, exactly from in the area that,
yeah, it's this part. It's this
said,
part.
yeah, it's this space, and it just looks empty. And so except there's no screen in my work. I could incorporate a screen. I'm waiting for the unconscious mind to drop its ideas in, and they will pop up. Things pop up, don't they, when it's from the unconscious mind? They pop up, and you've not worked it out. You've not tried to work it out or figure it out. It just suddenly, it's an aha moment, isn't it? It's oh, well, it could be that.
Yeah, it's very powerful how powerful we can visualize things and imagine things. Kate, going to you, Kate.
Yeah, and I was gonna, like, moving on from that, also from what Linda was saying, and also Susie, like, and for me it's like, if you think you're making it up, then that's the gold dust
That's it.
you're looking for, because it is like it's the stuff your logical mind is saying, well, what's that got to do with anything? That's not important, and it will just take it away, or whatever, or what's that got feeling in my right knee got to do with this problem that I've got with procrastination or whatever. But absolutely, that's where you want to go, whatever it's come in, and the more stupid it sounds to you, that's what we want. So when I'm working with people, a little bit like you with the cave or the room, it's like, for me, it's like I'm saying, you are going inside. I'm going to come with you. You've kind of got the torch. You can see where you're going. I'm blindfolded, so you're taking me in with you now. We're going in together, so you're not on your own. We'll go, and we'll only go as quickly or as slowly as you want to go. And we're going to go and explore inside and see what's there. And we're going to take it, as easy as necessary for you, because obviously there's a lot of fear around this going into this place, because of unknowns, there's fears in this cave. It's a bit dark, and you hear a scratchy noise and you think it's a big bear, but it turns out to be like a little insect, tiny little insect or something, because mind just blows it out of all proportion. So it is that, and I say that the more stupid it sounds to you, then that's what I want to hear. You're going to look around and you're going to tell me what you see, because I can't see what you see. Only you can. And so that's how we kind of do it. And so it's like,
sometimes we do. Sometimes we have glimpses of what they see and feel when we are in
absolutely, yeah. But this is what I say to my
clients. We are really there with them sometimes.
They understand that really they're in charge. Also, it's important they feel in charge.
Yeah.
But absolutely, yeah. I mean, you'll hear something and you'll know, that's right, or that's not what you mean.
Sometimes I pick up a picture, an image, or a feeling before they mention it, before they say it, and this is when you know that it's you're there with them.
We are tuning our nervous system to theirs. We're absolutely in tune, and that's part of it. Building that kind of link and connection. That's what we're doing. And so it's important that they feel safe when they're going in there, because it can be very scary, and they know they're not alone when you're going with them. And so, and that beautiful thing, like whatever pops in, it could be a memory, a picture, a sound, or just a feeling somewhere in the body. I mean, that's what you're looking for. And so when it happens to me, it's like I'm just so much more aware now of what's going on in my body and in my mind. And if something just pops in, I think, oh, okay, interesting. What's that? What do I need to learn from this? What is this telling me? Yeah. And there's always a learning in there somewhere. And that's the beauty. That's the gold dust. And when we go for that, so that's part of it, is like the noticing and the awareness, as Susie was talking about. And then the other part is like, well, how do you free up more? How do you expand more? How do you become more the eye that watches your thoughts and your feelings? How do you become more of that and be more kind of not taken away and by the river, like the flood? You can just stand by and watch the river flow by, and make more choices maybe for yourself if you want to, or just be more at peace. If you just want to be a more peaceful place, then that can be nice. Sometimes you want to jump in and go with the flow, and other times you want to stand back. And so it's building that choice. So it's awareness, and then there's choice. And those are the two things that I kind of am working with people to help them build that choice. Like, do I want to have this cigarette or not?
Yeah.
And or do I really need to go? It's 10 o'clock at night. I really need to go to bed, but should I really be watching? Do I really want to watch another 3 episodes of this thing on Netflix or whatever it is? You know, it's making more choices, having more choice, and then choosing whether you choose it or not. And that's the beauty. That's the expansion. That's the awareness, and that building in more options, more possibilities. Because as we know, as in our coaching work and therapy work, possibilities are endless for people. It's only your subconscious that limits that. Yeah. So the more we get out, we open up to all those possibilities and get out there more, we realise. And then it's like
the fear,
isn't it? It just you get momentum and it just grows. And the other thing I would say also with the subconscious is, once you kind of tune in, you can't really tune out again. It's kind of like, it's like opening up the box. It's like, once it's open, it's like, oh, I've got all this stuff to tell you. Oh, here's some more, you know. And it's like you've got to be ready for that, because once you start listening, it doesn't shut up. And so it's a bit like, do you want to take the pill or not in the Matrix, you know, with Neo, you know, do you want to take the pill or not? Because if you take that pill, then there's no going back.
Yeah. It's also very interesting, because your subconscious mind can be so freeing, but it also can be the one that's introducing fear. And that's why it's so important to be able to go back and deal with the things that are making you fearful, because the fear is stopping your unconscious mind from doing the magic that it can do, from allowing it. So consciously you're feeling the fear based on something that was maybe years ago. So by doing the work to free that part of yourself that's introducing that fear, you're then able to access your subconscious mind or unconscious mind for all the magic that it has, and allowing it, and to be willing to see anything that is, in your view, presently unchangeable, to be willing to see it to change, because you can.
It's like Cindy was saying about the bubble, you know, the bubble or the balloon or whatever it is. You're clearing it out so that it can become more one with the outside, more in tune with that. And then the more you're in tune with that, the more you can expand and be out there, not sort of stuck inside you know, because it limits you, doesn't it? These things, they're like almost like scars. You know, you get a cut or something, you get a scar, and then the skin doesn't move so well as it used to. So if you can kind of release that scar so it's not so limiting, you know, yes, you still have the wound. It's always you've got the memory of it, but the emotion isn't stuck with it anymore. It's not limiting you anymore. And that's what we're doing, isn't it? When we go back and help people to release stuff that is holding them back in some way, and other stuff they might, you know, we might want to keep. And I like the fact that happened to me. We were talking, weren't we, a bit about bullying and stuff like that before. Well, I kind of like all of that now. I grew a lot from that. If I hadn't had
that sharpened your view. You see, that's what happens, all these events, because I think it's essential in the work that I do anyway. It's when you realize that there is an aspect of you that cannot and will never be touched by any of these. You see, because if you keep looking at that wound and at that scar, that will always be there at a certain level. But there is that space in which this scar is, and that is you. So I think the fastest way in my approach to this work is that I try to bring people towards what's real and what's eternal and what's permanent in them, and that intelligence, that awareness, and that divinity in them that contains all these things. It is like if you're going into a room and you cannot see the space in the room because of the objects. You see, I mean, if I stay in the room and I say, okay, well, this room has this bottle and has this light and then has this computer and this books and this furniture, and all this and all these furnitures are damaged. Damn. But the room is the space in the room, and the space cannot be damaged by any damaged furniture or by any scar that is there. Yeah. So I think that's the beauty of this work, because in that unconscious is not just these bad memories. In that unconscious, there is the reality of who we are. And there are two ways, there are two driving forces, I think, in our lives. First is at the superficial level, where we search for pleasure and we avoid pain. We're wired like that. Nobody wants to be miserable unless it's a very pathological case, and God forbids. But essentially, we all look for a pleasurable state and we avoid bad states. That's why we do this work, right? We search to feel good. And there's a second layer or deeper layer or superior layer, if you want, is that desire of the soul to reconnect to the source.
Nice. Yes.
That's why we're doing what we're doing. And if you keep this in mind, you know, like, am I searching to avoid this pain? Yeah, okay. Is it legitimate? Yeah, okay, let's clear it. But at the background is always this desire for unity, and we all have it because we're all fractions, little fragments of this
Brilliant.
So universal, divine energy.
Sorry, go on.
Go on, Kate. Go on.
I was going to say, in our, certainly when we did our training, I had some amazing experiences where you do, once you touch that place, that the source or whatever you want to call it, that kind of thing, where you just feel one with everything in life and rocks and trees, and no matter what it is, it's like the most amazing experience. And once you only need to touch it once, and then it's kind of, that link is again opening a door, isn't it? And then you know it's there, and you kind of know it in your heart is there. You just know it. You remember it from before because you were there before and you kind of lost touch with it, and then you get that connection back, and it's like, wow. And like, cool, I could just live here, but of course you can't live that way because it's not feasible. But to be there, and I know some people that have gone through these enlightenment experiences where they make that connection back to this place that has always been there inside of them, but they just had lost sight of it almost. That they kind of just sort of drop out and don't pay their bills anymore and all that because they're just in this place of like, this is just fabulous. I'm just going to be here, but you can't live there anymore. And so there are actually people and coaches that help people that have got to that place and can't get back. They're just too spaced out. Because they're just high on that feeling, and I could see that because I've had amazing experiences with it, like studying.
That actually reminds me of AI. You know, like when you put on those goggles and you're in an alternate world, and it's almost like when they're playing games, kids are playing games or adults playing games, and they're in that world, and like that becomes their reality. You could be sitting in a little tiny box in a tiny room, but be living in a mansion in these AI worlds. And that's a whole different ball game. We'll talk about that one.
Yes.
We'll talk about that one. But on that note, it has been an hour, and yet again, I know it's flown. And I have to say thank you because, like today, I was feeling it today. I feel a lot better now. Actually, I feel like all free again. Subconscious mind free, ready to refocus and start again. So that's really good. And oh God, it was just magic techniques in this today as well. So anyone that's watching, I hope you've enjoyed it because I've learned loads. It's definitely been a more listening one for me today. I needed that. I'm surrounded by greatness. What can I say? I really am. So I wish you all the most wonderful weekend, and ladies, love you all and have a wonderful weekend too.
Thank you.
And and we'll see you again. And just remember, the Real Therapy podcast, you should see some promo going out very soon. We're working on it as we speak, and it should be going out 28th of May, our first ever episode, which is really exciting. So we're looking forward to that, working towards that. There's been loads going on, which is kind of why, along with my dog's operation and that going on, it's been a bit of a mad week. But I'm here, we're getting through it, and it'll all be good. So have a wonderful weekend. And on that note, I shall say au revoir, share, subscribe, and check everyone else's pages out because it will all be in the description. Lots of love. Right, let me end this live. Bye.